I really thought when I joined, I was coming in on the tail end of something. So by my math, the last 15 years have all been kind of overtime.
Hey, I'm Diona Reasonover.
And I'm Brian Dietzen. Welcome to NCIS Partners and Probies. Today we have a very, very special guest.
You guys have been asking for it. We knew we were going to deliver it for you, and here it comes right now. You're going to get to see an interview with the one, the only Rocky Carroll.
Episode number 500. We're gonna go deep on. As you can see, well, listeners can't see it, but viewers can see right behind me. We are celebrating the 500th episode of NCIS. And man, there's a lot to get through there. It is a beautiful show and one that has scarred my psyche forever.
Well, the scars is because we do talk about Silence of the Lambs a lot.
We actually do talk about that.
Kind of cosplay.
I'm not sure why that happened.
It's fun.
But the greatest part is just getting to talk to our friend about this amazing career that he has had. Not to say that his career is done. He's going to be working on NCIS from here until the end of time because we love him as a director. We love him as our pal.
Yes.
But hearing about him coming up in Cincinnati theater, going to Broadway.
August Wilson.
We're talking about his first film, Born on the 4th of July, and Crimson Tide after that.
Oh, yeah. We get some really fun Crimson Tide tidbits.
Yes, and his storied career in television as well. I mean, Rocky's one of my favorite people on the planet.
Yes. He's also one of my favorite people on the planet. Oh my gosh, we have so much in common with our friend Rocky.
I love it. We should do a podcast.
I think so.
Rocky, thank you so much for coming.
Is it bad if I just start clapping?
Thank you.
I get to do this. Speaking of thank you very much.
The actor's dream. You just show up for the applause and then you get to go home.
You know, I got to tell you,
this has been nice.
This is, I'm pleasantly surprised. This is a great stay. When I heard you guys were doing this podcast, I was like, well, Brian's got a nice house. They must be doing it out of his basement. But how surprised am I that this is not? I thought, well, I have his address. I know how to get to Brian's house because I'm sure they're doing it like out of his basement. I had this like, what was the movie?
Silence of the Lambs?
No.
That's our first guest at all times.
Yes.
Yep.
Excellent. Wayne's World. I thought it was more of a Wayne's World kind of thing. But this is very nice. Thank you.
Well, we heard you liked orange. So
you look great in it.
This reminds me of a. I can't put my finger on it, but it reminds me of a set that I've been on.
Is it CSI?
Yeah. Hunt for Red October.
Chicago Hope, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Could
have been. I don't know.
Oh no, it was the Flip Wilson show, I believe. That's what it was. Yeah.
Well, speaking of traveling back in time, I wanted to ask you about. I want to start at the beginning of your acting career. We really want to talk about you coming up in the Cincinnati theater scene. Like, how did you kind of make your bones there? How did you start off?
Well, I tell people all the time I was a very fortunate product of the of the late '60s, the movement, kind of the civil rights movement of the '60s, because those college kids who became educators in the '70s. Who decided that the only way you're going to make the world a better place was through education. And I was the beneficiary of that because they created a performing arts school in Cincinnati, Ohio, which was a very polarized city racially. And, they had all these other attempts to, legal attempts to try to integrate schools, forced busing and all that. But somebody came up with the brilliant idea that if you give kids a common goal, you create a desirable school for the performing arts. Kids from all walks of life, from the inner city and the suburbs, will all they'll want to do is be a part of that school. And kids understand that excellence and a common goal will transcend race and everything else. And that school just happened to be walking distance from my house. Hey. So from grade 6 all through my secondary education, I was at one of the most desired and we didn't know that we were actually part of a social experiment, but we were. And it was one of the most desirable schools to go to. It was a performing arts school, and that was sort of kind of gave me the genesis of really thinking that I could maybe do this as a not just as a pastime, but actually have a career as an artist.
And were you Rocky back then, or were you Roscoe?
I was Roscoe. I was always
Roscoe.
Well, growing up, Rocky was always my nickname. Family and friends knew me that, but my legal name, for tax purposes, was always Roscoe. So my friends in high school always knew me as Roscoe, but everybody that I grew up with, family. So when I took the name Rocky, somewhere in when the first time I saw my name on a cast list, and I was like, that takes up too much space. I need something a little shorter and got something a little more memorable. So that's when I decided to go with Rocky.
Is Roscoe, is it one letter shorter than Rocky?
No, it's actually 13 letters longer. That's off the top of my head. It's almost.
I'm hearing in my ear that's one letter shorter.
Yeah. It's like, but very kind of you.
Kind of short, but I like the name Rocky because people remembered it,
Yeah.
For sure.
Like I say, we always joke, especially when, as a director, when people come in to audition, they used to say, any actor that uses 3 names is using a lot more space. So if it's, Philip Michael Thomas, is like, they're either very good or they're going to be horrible. There's never any between anybody that uses three names. Because if you're going to take up that much space on paper, people will always remember. So I was like, I don't want to take up too much space. So I'll just do 2 names.
Yeah.
And if you're really great, you just go with one, just
You
Rocky.
just go Cher.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. On our show here, we just need one name for you.
We just call you
Who do we
Rocky.
have on today? Rocky.
Rocky.
So coming out of Cincinnati, tell me what brought you to New York then? I know, were you workshopping a play and then that's what brought you up there?
Well, after Cincinnati was, I have no idea at being the knucklehead that I was as a teenager. Somewhere I was self-aware enough to know that like all the actors that I looked up to and respected, they all had some form of secondary formal training. I was like, I can't just, I graduated high school. I was in performing arts high school. I was used to performing, but the thought of like trying to make a professional career, I was like, no, I got one more step. I was like, Meryl Streep went to Yale. Meryl Streep went to school. It's like Michael Jordan went to North Carolina. You got one more step. So I was determined to go to a training program. So I graduated from the Conservatory of Theater Arts at Webster University, which is in St. Louis. It's a university about the size of this room. Very intimate. It was still Webster College when I was there because we didn't have enough people for it to become university status. But now it's kind of grown and blossomed. But I was determined. I was like, I'm not going to New York or anywhere else until I know that I'm like I can do not only one thing well, but like several things. I need as many clubs in my bag as I possibly can before pursuing it. So I spent 4.5 years. Got my degree in fine arts in St. Louis, got my equity card, started my first professional job was at the Repertory Theater of St. Louis. So I was like, this is a start. I'm working in regional theater. Nice. That took me to New York. So I literally said, okay, now I can give it a shot in New York. And so August of 1986, I made the move. I packed everything I had, which was about the size of a grocery bag and said, I'm going to New York City. I auditioned for Joe Papp in the New York Shakespeare Festival. And a week later, I was a part of the New York Shakespeare Festival with Estelle Parsons as our director and our mentor, and Joe Papp under the aegis of Joe Papp. And that's where things started.
Well, and what show was it?
It was actually 3 shows. It was a Joe Papp, who was a master, salesman and can make anything possible. He took a Broadway theater that was closed, the Belasco Theater. It was on the wrong side of Broadway. There was their whole list of theaters that were considered the wrong side of Broadway. So they were dark theaters. They weren't up and running. Well, he got the Belasco Theater to open for this. And he did it because it was part of the New York public school system. We did 3 Shakespeare plays in rotating rep. Macbeth, which you can say when you're not on stage.
We're on a stage.
Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. The Scottish play.
Scottish play, yeah. Okay.
I just said for those of you at home, it's Macbeth. As You Like It, Romeo and Juliet, in rotating rep, and
nice.
It was an extension of this kind of the school that I went to. It was sort of colorblind casting. Yeah. We had Jeffrey Owens, who was on The Cosby Show at the time, the biggest show on TV.
Yeah.
And we did these 3 plays at 9 a.m. in rotating rep for the New York City public school system. So at 9 a.m. every Monday through Friday, we had a Broadway theater full of school kids who were getting their first taste of Shakespeare. And we did them, we took them out of we set them in all different, some of them were present day. Romeo and Juliet was set at a Catholic boys' school. We kind of did all this stuff. And the people who were part of this, Regina Taylor, F. Murray Abraham heard about it, and he came on and played the Scottish King for us for about a month because it began to grow because the school system. We were the most popular people in the world for for New York City. We walk down the street. No adults knew who we were, but like teenage kids were like, "Yeah, you're the kid on TV." So that was my first year in New York City. Was doing New York Shakespeare Festival, rotating rep, those 3 shows. I did Shakespeare in the Park that year, and I thought this is going to be my life. I'm going to be a New York, a stage actor, regional theater. Maybe I'll dip my toe occasionally and, maybe I'll go to LA, Hollywood to audition, but no designs to go to LA, no designs to be to Hollywood whatsoever. I was a stage actor, classically trained actor. This is my life. This is what I'm going to do. And when you make that kind of proclamation at age 23, by age 26, I was living in Hollywood. So
that's the same thing that happened to me. Actually, I started off doing Shakespeare, and you too.
Yeah, Colorado Shakespeare Festival. Yeah.
And
I thought, this is it. I'm going to be a New York-based actor and this is going to be my lot in life, and I'm very happy about it. 4 years later, I auditioned for a TV series and never went back. So,
what series was that?
It was a sitcom called Rock.
Oh, that little thing, that little vehicle. That little teeny tiny.
In 1990, the Fox network was kind of this fledgling network, and In Living Color was and The Simpsons was probably the biggest. Was the biggest, most recognizable show at that time, and we were just very fortunate that all the executives and the producers on the Fox network said, we're going to take these. We were all stage actors. None of us had any. Some of us had some on-screen experience, but none of us had ever done a sitcom before. Right. We had 4 stage actors doing a sitcom, and it's like, at that point, I didn't know. I can't imagine to this day now that the executive producers would say, "Yeah, that'll work." None of them have any TV experience whatsoever. Let's give them a show.
So, but you had worked.
So who's in that cast?
Charles S. Dutton.
Charles S. Dutton was the lead. Charles S. Dutton was. They had shot the pilot, and Charles S. Dutton called me and said, "This is how little experience I had with television." Charles S. Dutton called me. I was in New York, and he said, "Rocky, you could have come out and auditioned for this pilot." And I said, "What's a pilot?" He goes, "Idiot! The first episode of a TV show."
Like, I can't fly a plane. I don't know what you're talking about.
So I literally thought to myself, they're not going to hire me because I'm a stage actor, right? I have no TV experience. But it's a free trip to Los Angeles, and I'm gonna go. I'll go in. I'll do the audition. I'll give them the 11 minutes or whatever to do the audition, because that's what I'm gonna have to do to pay for this trip to Los Angeles. So they flew me out first class, and I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be great! I get a weekend in Los Angeles. I get to hang out with Dutton. It's fun. All I got to do is give them a few minutes of doing this audition, and they say thanks, but no thanks. Then what's for dinner?" So that was like my whole plan. And I literally walked into the audition thinking that. I was like, "Guys, listen, let's not waste each other's time. Where do you want me to stay? And I'll do this because we have dinner reservations at 7:30. So let's make it happen."
Yeah.
So all that time they're looking at me and they're going, "He's perfect for it." And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to have the best weekend. Did the audition, and it literally what they were looking for was chemistry. And Charles Dutton and I have been on stage together for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
With a Broadway run, and it literally was like we just kind of picked up where we left off. So I finished the audition. I was like, okay, to Charles Dutton, I was like, "All right, Rock, where are we going for dinner?" He goes, "Well, you got to go to fitting first because you got the part." I was like, "What?" He says, "You got the part." I was like, I got something on the stove back home. I can't stay here. Literally, that was 36 years ago.
Wow. So, yeah. It's wild to me because I was going to say, weren't you guys on stage together? It's wild to me that you truly did not think that this was going to happen.
We were on stage for literally for 3.5 years. We're doing workshopping August Wilson's play, which culminated in this Broadway run, which was, like, I was like, okay, this is it. If tomorrow's my last day, I'm good. We had a Broadway run, and Charles Dutton gets the, Stan Daniels, who created Cheers, created the series Rock, and his writing team, Mert Rich and Brian Pollack, were the head writers on Cheers.
Yeah.
So Rock had this dream team of creatives behind the series, but they couldn't find the person to play his brother. They couldn't find a match. So Rock says to them, "There's a guy that I've been working with on stage for 3 years." He's like, "I think we have pretty good chemistry." And he's like, and literally he knew. He says, "All you got to do is walk in here." And that's what I did. I literally walked in because I was like, "Let's go," because I got to get. We got 30 minutes before our dinner reservation, and that's how I ended up getting the gig.
So when you were doing piano lesson with him, And who else kind of came and went in that cast? Because that changed a little bit over the years, of those 3 years.
It did, but the Broadway cast, the original, and it blows my mind now that I have now lived long enough to have now seen a revival of the. You always hear about there's a revival of Fiddler on the Roof, but but I'm like, wow, I've lived long enough now. There's a revival of a play that I originated. So on Broadway, it was pretty crazy. S.E. Pather Murkison was in the cast. Everybody kind of went on. We've lost quite a few of them, but I literally was in the room with August Wilson for 3+ years as he was shaping and creating this.
That's a once in a lifetime sort of thing.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I think being the age that I was, I think I was too young to realize the enormity of it, because I didn't realize like how now I'm like, oh, that's insane that I was in that kind of company for that big a period of time. But that was 3.5 years of literally being in the room while August was chain smoking, because you could still smoke in a room then. Yeah. Chain smoking and doing rewrites of his play that would win the Pulitzer Prize.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me make it even more enormous for you. When I was in college and I was studying theater and I was studying the piano lesson, I would open the book and the cast is in there first.
Yes,
and I'm reading your
cast.
name.
Yeah.
And then to come and get to work with you, like what a dream. It was so incredible for me.
Oh, and people who went to the revival and they see the piano lesson was first performed and they're like, people were calling me. I'm like, where are you? They're like, I'm in the theater. you were in the original episode. I was like, hang up the phone and watch call me later. Why are you calling me now? I can hear this. I can hear the play going on behind you. Get off the damn phone. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. You're like, people are like, dude, you're in the Samuel French edition. It's like,
yeah.
It was pretty amazing. So that's where I came from. I was a stage actor. I was classically trained actor, and television. And literally, I remember those early days as far as television. I was like, oh, I can't. This is like a really bad hazing. I feel like I've joined a fraternity and they're just continually hazing me, because it's like you had to stand a certain way and all the things you could do on stage. All of a sudden, there were all these different things you had to be mindful of.
A lot more parameters.
You can't. You don't pound your chest because you hit the microphone and you're creating throwing a shadow on your cast member there, and all these different things, and like the camera talk about we're doing a medium and doing all. It's like I was learning a new language, but we once we kind of got our legs under it, and I always joke. I said, when we watched the first season of Rock, you can see it behind our eyes. We're all kind of doing our thing, but it's like, am I on the mark here? It's like that sense of like still trying to get used to the world that you're in. Like, it's just that feeling of like, oh, I'm supposed to be this way and not that way. So there was a lot of that, but we figured it out.
What got you comfortable? What kind of made you feel like I'm in it?
The second season of Rock, when Charles Dutton went to the producers and said, we're doing it live. And they were like, it's like that scene in the movie Tootsie. They were like, what do you mean live? We're going to go live? He's like, yeah, we're all stage actors. You're a fledgling network. You're trying to make a name for yourself. We're all used to working without a net. Let's do like classic TV, Playhouse 90, like the Honeymooners. Like let's do 22 episodes of this show at 8:00 on Sunday. Let's do it when they're watching it. And again, Fox being still trying to make its mark said, all right, let's roll the dice. Let's see what happens. And so that's when I said, you know what, this TV stuff is not bad. So we were able to kind of incorporate what we knew. But the thing that really blew my mind was the guest actors who would come on the show who were used to doing television. They were like, you guys are out of your mind. Are we doing this? We're doing this live. We had all these people who were like household names, and during the week of rehearsal, everybody was cool. But like a couple of times we had to like, please come out of the dressing room. It's going to be okay. They're like, I'm not doing this. We had like literally people who had worked on series and like had their own people. They were people that we looked up to on the day when we were filming it. There's like, come on, it's 30 minutes. Just come out of the dressing room so we can shoot the episode. I'm not coming out. We had a couple of those.
I'm going to go through IMDb and I'm just going to start texting you names. I'm like, was it this? Was it this?
We had a couple. Yeah. We had to talk them off a ledge.
I remember there's a couple of different sitcoms, including Will and Grace, that did like a live episode. But you're talking like one live episode over the course of whatever they ran for 8 years or something.
And ER did a very famous, did a drama. I remember it was George Clooney. It was still in the George Clooney days of ER where they did one. And I remember we were like, because Rocket, we were on for 3 seasons, so it had run its course, it had come and gone. But we started hearing about all these other shows doing one episode. We were like, we did 22.
You did 22.
We did 22 episodes live, and it was, for like I said, for us it felt normal.
Yeah.
For our guest stars who were for television, they were like, I'm never doing. You people are out of your minds. It was great.
Now I want that. Now I want to do like a live. I'm like,
live
let's
NCIS.
do it. A live NCIS anything. Let's just do it. I was like, let's just go.
So what? Where did it take you after Rock? Is that what year are we talking now? This is 90.
This was the 90s. Man,
94?
Oh God, the 90s in Los Angeles, man. It was,
I have to ask, what was your hair? Did you ever at any point decide to have a flat top? Did you ever decide to do the kid?
I couldn't do
it.
I always, I always had what we called the TWA, teeny weeny afro, which was low maintenance.
Sure.
I sported the TWA. I was too lazy. I didn't want to. Hair care was not a thing that I wanted to worry about. So I always wore short, but. That was the era of it was kid and play. It was the flat top. It was guys had bigger hair than women did, back in the 90s. But it was such an amazing time, and like the evolution of television and being in Los Angeles, being in Hollywood. Because when I first got to LA in 1990, there was still a very big distinction between film actors and TV actors, right? Mm-hmm. There were some people who made their living strictly from film. And television, there were TV actors, and even if you went into a casting session, people looked at you like, "Oh, he's television," and then once all the independent networks and the HBOs and the Cinemax started doing original programming, and television became all of a sudden every film actor wanted to get a series. Every film actor, I remember friends of mine who were, I had known Regina King for years, and there was one point in the late 90s where we were somewhere, and I was like, so how's it going? Who was somebody that I always associated with. She just went from film to film, and she looked me in the eye and she goes, I got to get a series. Yeah. It was like, because the lines had become blurred, and I was like, maybe I'm in the right car here, because after Rock, my relationship with CBS, which is now more than 30 years now, was started with Chicago Hope. And everybody kept saying, well, TV, for the last 40 years, people have been singing the death knell of TV. TV is supposed to be, it's a year from now, it's going to be obsolete.
Yeah.
Right before the pandemic, people were singing the death knell of television.
Mm-hmm. We're still singing it now. Yeah.
What did people do during the pandemic? They stayed at home and they watched television.
TV,
So, it ain't going anywhere. Television's not going anywhere.
And you were on Chicago Hope with Mark too, right?
Mark Harmon and I met. We both came in. So many names. Chicago Hope had been it was in its 3rd season. So, and Harmon and I both came to the same season.
Oh wow!
So that's where we met. That's where we became friends. And that I always say to that. I say it half jokingly, but there's a lot of truth in it. When NCIS came on my radar, the good thing was to know I only knew one person connected to NCIS, and I'm glad I had a good relationship.
That was a good guy to know.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. If you're gonna know one,
me, I'm not sure I'm a swag.
Don't ask me nothing.
We'd be doing this interview from the car wash where I would be working probably.
Well, for Brian's Silence of the Lambs basement.
From my Silence of the Lambs basement.
Apparently. Is it good? Is it warm?
It stays in the basket.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I was going Wayne's World, but I couldn't remember the name. But Silence of the Lambs, I like.
She always goes Silence of the Lambs.
It's
a completely different basement. Yeah. Wayne's World and Silence of the Lambs.
I don't think they're as far apart as you guys think they are. Maybe I haven't seen Wayne's World.
I know you haven't.
Yeah, I haven't. I haven't.
Because if you're making a comparison, no,
you definitely have not. In that time period, you're doing Chicago Hope. I wanted to ask you, you were talking about differences between television actors and film actors. It's at least is how people saw one another. You had a really successful foray into feature films, though, and talk about Crimson Tide at that time. How did that come about? I mean, I know you made a ton of lifelong friends from that project as well.
Yeah. Actually, the first film I did, I was still in New York. It was 1988. I was in another NCIS, 6 Degrees of NCIS. Our our director of photography for so many years, Bill Webb, was I believe he worked as a camera assistant on that. I was in I get so many names in my head. Born on the 4th of July was the first. I did an Oliver Stone film, the first film that I ever did.
That was your first movie.
My first film was Born on the 4th of July.
That did okay.
Wow.
I was in 1988. Bob Richardson was the director of photography, and his assistant, a young camera person working with him, camera operator, was a young guy by the name of William Webb.
Mr. Billy
So
Webb.
Bill Webb and
Billy
I,
Webb.
6 degrees of NCIS.
That's cool.
Met each other, knew each other 20 years prior to NCIS. And my favorite story about Born on the 4th of July, literally I was working, we had done a couple of productions of The Piano Lesson. And the process was we'd do a run at a regional theater, an 8-week run, and then August Wilson would go and rework the play, and we'd have maybe 6 months or whatever it was before we'd mount it again somewhere else. But it would always be time for him to reshape and rewrite. And I would go back to my job as a maitre d' at this restaurant on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. That was the one and only job. Like I tell people, I haven't worked in most of my adult life, but when I did, it was at this restaurant. I was working back as a maitre d', and I auditioned for Oliver Stone for Born on the 4th of July, and I got the part. And this tells you how long ago this was. I was at a phone booth. I called my mother, who back in Ohio. And I called my mother and I said, "Hey, I got some news for you. I got a part in a movie." She's like, "You're in a movie?" I said, "Yeah, I'm in a movie. I got a part in a movie." She's like, "Oh my God, that's great." She goes, "What is it? What is it?" I said, "Well, it's a movie. It's written by this guy named Oliver Stone, and the name of the movie is Born on the 4th of July." And there was a pause. My mother did like this dead silence for a few seconds, and my mother says, "Honey, you were born on the 8th of July." And I had to explain to her that the movie was not about me, and that because she was like, "Well, if they're going to make a movie, they should get your birthday right." I was like, "Ma, it's not about me." And I swear to, when I used to tell that story, my mother goes, "I never said that." I said, "Yes, you did. Yes, you did. That was the first thing you thought."
That's hilarious.
She was going to give Oliver Stone a piece of her mind for getting my birthday wrong. But yes, Born on the 4th of July. I took a little detour to get back to our topic here, but that was the first one, and then
Nice.
In the 90s, early 90s, after Chicago Hope, I was with this incredible group of all guys who were on the verge of like superstardom themselves, doing Crimson Tide. James Gandolfini, Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah.
There were all these people who were part of that thing. It was just incredible.
Amazing. And you also worked with our buddy Matt Craven.
Matt Craven and
who
I
became a SecNav on NCIS
Matt and I,
as well.
who had known each other from our theater days. We'd been
Yeah.
at the O'Neill Playwrights Festival together. I'd known Matt for long before that, but we were all a part of this, that period in the 90s where you could have 4 or 5 people like kind of above, whose names could be above the title, all working in the same film. It was Denzel Washington, Gene Hackman and the up-and-coming Viggo Mortensen and the up-and-coming James Gandolfini, pre-Tony Soprano.
Wow, that's incredible. Tell me what those days were like. It
was fun. I mean, a bunch of guys, and it was like in this set that they built. It wasn't on the Fox lot. Where were we? We were at Century City. We spent, and it was like 6 months of principal photography. So now it's like, we're going to shoot this. We're going to shoot today. We shot that in 30 days, but now it's like it was 6 months of principal photography. We were at the Sony lot in Century City. They built the submarine. Was this set? It was a gimbal, which is this rotating set. It was like an amusement park ride.
Oh, it moved.
Yeah, it moved, and they could set it at different angles. So on the day we shot an episode, when we shot a scene. When the submarine was supposed to take a hit and be tilted, they could tilt the set, and they would literally spray this substance, this stickum on the bottom, so we wouldn't go slack because we were all standing at these angles, which you could do in your 20s. If I had to do that now, I'd be like, "Hey, where's my stunt double?" Because I'm starting to hurt my back here. But back then, you'd stand at these angles, and we were in this, and it was Tony Scott was the director, Gene Hackman, Denzel Washington, and you were, 12, 14-hour days where it's supposed to be this, you're in this, this tube, and it's this high pressure situation, and tempers are flaring on the script. Well, they were also flaring in real life because after a while, you're you're shooting this scene and it's hot and they're spraying you with mist to sort of make sure everybody's like nice and sweaty and everything.
Everyone's sweating.
And
in
every
the whole
once in a while,
movie,
you just kind of look at the guy next to you and get off me. Right? So there were a few times where we literally had to separate people because that, after a while you just start getting on each other's nerves and it's like, stop sweating on me, right? You're just like, And Tony Scott was like, he was kind of the ringmaster. It's like, this today and these times, they probably would have called him into HR because once things like that happen, now Tony would be like, no, let it play out. Let's see what happens. They're like, Tony, I think these two guys are going to get into a fight. No, it's okay. Let's watch it. Keep the cameras rolling. Keep the cameras rolling.
This is by design.
Now that we'd all be in HR right now for what we did. But it was an amazing time.
That's great, man.
Dang, I honestly, this is blowing my mind.
I mean, well, you're talking about all these people on the verge, the precipice of these, stardom, all that sort of stuff. It sounds like between all these different folks that you met, including Harmon, Billy Webb, and everything's leading up towards this audition for a television show to replace the character of Jenny Shepard on NCIS. Right. So that is, remind me now, probably about 2006 or so.
We were 18 years ago. So I was 08. It was 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when you get the call for that, obviously you knew Harmon and whatnot. You'd probably seen an episode or two. But what did they tell you when coming in for this? Like, what were they looking for? What was the prototype?
Wasn't a whole lot. I think it kind of been a recurring theme in my life. It was kind of like I was the last to know kind of like what the parameters were. I just kind of like, they called me in and go, hey, the producers of NCIS want to meet with you. And so it wasn't really an audition. It wasn't really like reading something and saying, Vance crosses left and says this. It was me sitting across Shane Brennan and Charles Johnson, kind of like where I'm sitting with you, and having a conversation, having a dialogue. And it was like one of those things where I feel like a lot of times in my career, I was auditioning when I didn't know I was auditioning. It's like, you know that you've reached a certain level, but when you say, you guys want me to read? And they're like, no, you don't have to read. It was literally like a 15-minute sit down with them. It was kind of like Harmon had already laid the groundwork. He's like, and I always use the sports reference. I feel like NCIS was this, very well established, team, a playoff team that was maybe a couple of pieces short of being a championship team, and they were looking for somebody I would say to myself, it's like my job was to shore up the defense. It's like you needed that one piece, you need that one cornerback or that one safety, just to kind of fill out the team. And I felt like when I went in to do it was less of an audition and just more of a like, yeah, he is what Harmon said he was, right?
Yeah.
And literally walked out the room. It's like, I don't know if they want me to come back now and read for something or if it's like what the next step is. But it was literally like, if he's anywhere near what Harmon, kind of, because I was already Harmon approved.
Yep.
And I think Harmon basically said, this is the guy you should go with. So sit in a room with him and see what you think. And that's kind of how that time went, the interview went. I never read for anything. We never talked anything. It was like, I remember having a conversation like this.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you're going to be the director on NCIS. That's kind of how it happened.
This is just a testament to like all the work that you were doing. I mean, because let me tell you,
foundation was laid.
Yeah, 100%. Because when I be auditioning for stuff, they're like, we don't even have your name on the list. They're like, go back down and make some phone calls.
Fun fact: I was at her audition for NCIS.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were.
That's right.
That's right.
I had to not look at you because I was like, well, I'll freak out because I knew you from TV, and I was like, well, I can't look at you.
Frank, because George and Frank were still I think they were still our showrunners at the time.
They were.
Yeah.
And there was a very short list of people reading for, auditioning for Casey Hines. And
me and Angelina Jolie, right?
Yes.
That's right.
Yes,
Jodie
right.
Foster from
Jodie
Silence of the
Foster.
Lambs.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
nice call.
Thank you.
And Helen Mirren sent in a tape.
Yeah, okay.
Couldn't be there.
She couldn't be there. But I remember our executive producers, because I had directed a few episodes, and they were like, you're good with actors. You can talk to the animals. You have that. You're kind of our Dr. Doolittle here. So would you mind going in? And I was really honored actually, because they asked, can you sit in if there's anything notes wise? Because sometimes actors will ask you like, questions like, and like, hey, so how long has this character known each other? Things that things that we ask,
Right.
given circumstances or whatever.
Right.
And they were like, in case they ask us some actor questions, we want somebody there who can answer them, right? So
That's great.
I was actually there and got to witness Diona's, now historical audition.
Yeah, it was fun. After they made me, after they were like, "Hey, we don't have you on the list," then I got in. It was a lot of fun.
She snuck through.
Wait, so how long did you? So when you get on NCIS,
Right.
Did you think that this was kind of because when I came, I was like, yeah, they're probably gonna do like one more season. Like, where did you think NCIS was in its run?
It's exactly. I think every actor has that thought.
Yeah.
It's like when I joined NCIS, it was at the end of season 5.
Yeah.
So I thought, if this goes 7 seasons,
Yeah.
if it 8, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So I really thought when I joined, I was coming in on the tail end of something. Like I said, hey, mate, I get in on a couple of good seasons of it. So, and I've said this before in an interview. So by my math, the last 15 years have all been kind of overtime. It's all been a grace period. I thought I was going to get 2, maybe 3 seasons of being a part of this show, because most shows, The Sopranos, I think, went 8 seasons, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
7 seasons is like, people are like, oh my God, I had a dream. It was critically acclaimed shows that last 7 seasons. So
Yeah.
when we got to 10 and then we got to 15, everybody's got to look at each other like, and now we're season 23. I'm just crazy.
Well, I remember with one of the first conversations that I had with you on the set. I remember it was within the first year, because you came in and did a couple of episodes at the end of the season, and then you were a series regular the following season. And I remember we were all kind of sitting together, and you looked around and you said, hey, no one wants to mess this up by going and being a movie star, right? Because you've been working and you recognized immediately this sort of thing doesn't happen
Right.
very often.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, we're all good with working here, right? We enjoy working here. And I remember even like Weatherly looked at you, I was like, yeah, this is great. This is pretty awesome. And you're like, okay, cool. Because these things get messed up, when egos get involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, not even so much egos. What I've realized too is that especially for a lot of young actors, you get if your first taste of this is a hit series, your mindset says, okay, once this comes to an end, I'll just get on another hit series after this.
Yeah.
So
right. I'll just replace like for like. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes I always talk about this a lot. Because as actors, there's the old running joke is if you want to make an actor truly unhappy, give him a job. Right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you spend so much time and energy looking for work, and when you're not working, you're on the phone with your agent, your manager, and you're like, I don't care. I'll do anything.
Right.
I'll work in a circus. I'll take a shovel behind an elephant if that gets me on stage.
Yeah.
I don't care. And then you get that job. You get the thing you want, and then and I think it's sort of baked into our business. A year later, you're supposed to be unhappy. I can't work in these conditions. Look at the size of my couch. Look at my room. I can't.
Yeah.
At these, I don't have enough. And all of a sudden, it's like all these little Iagos in your ear going, are you getting enough scenes? Do you think don't you feel like you should be getting more? You're like, no, I think the grass is very green. And then the people around you and all of us, either you or the people around you is suddenly saying, yeah, but there's an even greener pasture that you're not even familiar with. Let's shove all our chips in the middle of the table. And even though you love the job, you love the character, you love everything about working on this show, you are unhappy because that's what we do.
Yeah.
You now have to say, I want you to triple my salary and paint my room orange and give me a bigger couch, or I'm walking. Let's see what happens. And I said to my reps when I first started, I said, we're not doing that.
Right.
We're not doing that at all. I said, we are never pushing our chips in the middle of the table and say, you either make my grass green or I'm walking. And because I said to everybody who would listen, I said, I have the best part-time job in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. I said, this show it takes 8 days to shoot an episode. A big episode for me is 3 out of 8 days. Mm-hmm. I have a wife. I got a young child, and this allows me to be present in their lives and do what I love to do. I love the cast. I love the crew. I love the character's role. So don't come to me telling me that I should be that the grass that I'm in should be greener.
Yeah.
Right.
So I said, so we can, we can do the perfunctory. Let's, it's a negotiating team. We can do it, but we ain't pushing our chips in the middle of the table, and we're not walking away from this thing. And I made that. I just sized it up. And I know so many actors, some of my contemporaries, who never would have been a part of the show for 18 years because somebody, either they or somebody who works with them or represents them, would say, it's time for you to go all in and say, if you don't quadruple everything I have right now, I'm out of here, because that's what we do.
Well, watching you, I mean, I learned a lot from watching you rock, because what you did was, I mean, like you said, the old adage, how do you piss off an actor? You give him a job.
Give him a job.
Because honestly, it's the actor's mind starts getting to what I really want to do is, and what you did is you used what you had, this wonderful job, as leverage to create an opportunity for yourself, and then you became one of our most prolific behind the camera directors that we've had on the history of NCIS. You know, you directed 30 of our episodes by now, and that opportunity wouldn't have been given to you had you said, I'm out of here, I'm going to go try something else, and maybe I'll come back and direct, right? You use what you had in order to figure out how you could further your career and take another step. So I want to hear about what that transition was like for you, of going from director on camera, director of NCIS, to being our director the first time with the bullhorn and the
and the joppers and the
jotters, the riding crop, yes.
And if this had happened to me at age 25, I probably would have made the same mistakes a lot of other actors do. It's like, well, I've been playing the same character for 4 years now. I think it's time to move on to do something else. And then you spend the next 15 years trying to get back to where you were on that show.
Yeah.
So I just knew instinctively. Harmon and I both were like, you know what? I'm glad we're doing this. We're at this stage of, because. And by the time I'd done NCIS, I had done 4 other series for CBS. So I'd been, I'd been a part of things that have come and gone, and I understood how fleeting it can be. So when you have something that seems to have some sort of staying power, and you're, like I said, and if you're not a 27-year-old and your first taste of success is a hit show, your mindset, it's like, if you come up in the major leagues in your first year playing for the Dodgers, you go to the World Series, you're like, oh, we're going to do this every year. Right. Every year I'm going to be in the World Series.
Right.
And I think that even happens for actors. You're like, well, my first show is a hit show. So if I decide to leave and find myself and do something else, I'll just get on another hit show a year later. 15 years later, you talk to them and they're like, I don't know what I was thinking, right? So for me, it was like, I knew that this was a great place, especially where I was in my life, at the stage that I was in. And the directing aspect of it, it was, oddly enough, I was the last one to get on board with me being a director. Everybody else around me, cast members, friends, people on the crew, they would always say to me, you're a director. You have the temperament, you have the everything, all the component parts of being a director. My managers would say to me every time we would get to that negotiating period, do you want us to put in to see if you can direct a few episodes? And I was like, was I talking in my sleep? When have I said that I wanted to be a director? And every year they'd go, let's see if we can get a director component in here. You should be a director. And I was like, when have I ever said out loud I want to be a director? I was like, stop with the directing thing. I literally for 4 periods every time we would renegotiate. Do you want us to go? No, I didn't say I wanted to be a director. So finally I got so tired, I was like, you know what? Tell you what, so we can nip this in the bud and we don't have to have this conversation again. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into Gary Glassberg's office, who was an executive producer at the time. I'm going to tell him that I have an interest in directing and what would it take for me to maybe get to the point where I could direct an episode. He's going to give me the 42 reasons why it's not going to be possible. And then we can nip this in the bud. You don't have to stop asking me about directing again, right? All right, you sit here. I'll be right back. I'll tell you. And when he tells me no, we can stop this. So I go into the office, kind of like what I did with my audition for Rock. I sat down and I said, okay, Gary, here's the thing. I'm thinking about, what would it be like what would I have to do if someday I wanted to direct an episode? What's the possibility of it? And Gary looked at me and goes, how about 8 weeks from today? And I was like, damn it, I thought I had this pegged. That's literally how it started. He's we've been kind of waiting for you to kind of come across. I was really literally the last one to know. And I was like, I guess people saw it before I did. Because Gary was like, You know,
We all
he's
saw
like,
that,
run it
man.
up. And Harmon was like, he said, we got to run it by Harmon. Harmon's like, yes. So that was it.
I'm noticing a theme with you. So if a few weeks from now when this airs, if you decide you definitely don't know what the lottery numbers are, just go ahead and post it in the comments of this video so everybody can kind of go out and buy
tell
a
us what
ticket.
they're not.
Yeah, tell us what
they're not, and then that's what we're putting our money on.
It would be the outtakes from Rain Man where things didn't go the way that that you wanted them to. Yeah, it's like, because I don't lead with that. It's kind of like, it's literally to prove a point. I'm like, look, it's not going to happen. Watch this, and then it happened. So much to my pleasantly surprised. It's like. And I don't care how much good faith and how much you're beloved on the set. If it doesn't work, if the episode doesn't work, they wouldn't have asked me to do when I knew it was good was when they asked me to do another episode.
Yeah.
And when the cast members at that time said to me, "When are you going to do another one?" I was like, "Well, I guess I've stepped in it." So,
well, what I love about working with you when you're directing is that you are giving us one of those given circumstances. We're kind of coming at it through character, but also, I think more so than anything, you are coming at it as a collaborative process, and you're going to make it work.
And you're incredibly present, and that's I think that's why every cast member you had said you're going to be a fantastic director on the show, because you're always so present in every single one of our scenes that's what it is. It's just paying attention and telling us, reminding us as actors with our, moth-filled brains, like this is where you were right beforehand.
What?
Like everything's going like that.
Again, Silence of the Lambs, a little bit of Yes, Clarice.
Good job.
Thanks. I'm bringing it back to that. But the presence that you always had on set as an actor, it just lent itself to directing. And I mean, like I said, you're one of our most prolific in the history of the show. How many now that you've done?
I think I'm nearing 30. I think
it's 30.
I think it's
20. I read somewhere that it was that I'm like one shy.
I'm going to go with 54.
Yes, that's what I'm going to say too.
Well, if we don't count when NCIS was a radio drama when I started, so I did a few back then. People always said, like, how long have you been on the show? I said, I think it was still it was still part of the CBS radio family when we first started. It feels like it's been around for so long. But yeah, for me, I think, and actors appreciate. Now there are actors who direct where, and I remember going like after my first episode, saying to the executive producers like how glad I was. I was like, man, you have such a different perspective and such a different appreciation. I'll never be late for set because you're like the first time you're as a director, you're like, what are we waiting on? What it was like, and everybody on the crew goes, see, welcome to our world, right? So just for me, I got such an appreciation for all the things that happened on the other side of the camera. And I remember going to our executive producer, Mark Horowitz, I go, man, every actor should do this because you get such a different understanding. And I remember Horowitz saying, some of them would get a different understanding. There are some who it wouldn't faze them, but not one bit.
Yeah.
He says, but you feel like you've been informed in a certain way. And it's like, and for me, it's like because I speak the language. I think actors love it when you speak the language. And I always tell there are a lot of directors who work on our show who are far more adept at every aspect of directing, much more so than I am. Some of them came from the world of editing. Some of them, they can talk the language of the camera in ways that I can't even like fathom, but they don't communicate with the actors. Where it comes up short is the actual performers, that's where they come up short. Because a lot of them don't realize that actors have a process, and every actor has a different process. And you can't use the same method of directing with everybody on that set. If you do, you will lose them. Yeah. And and I said to people all the time, I said a lot of times those directors don't even know when they've lost the actor because of the way you've either approached them or said something about it, or you're talking to them like they're a trained SEAL. You don't even know when the actor's like, sure, I can do that, no problem. And sometimes those directors are the last to know, like, I've lost the locker room here because and even now you hear coaching, why there's so many in the sports world, why there's so many coaches that are successful, because they understand as far as dealing with individuals, people want to know that you are, that you're present and you're present with them. So, and I remember I felt like I don't know enough about the technical side of directing to even call myself a director when I first started. And different people, Bill Webb was one of them, who said, do what you know what your strong suit is. He says, go with that. All these other things will start to fall into place.
Yeah.
But you will, you understand story. Be the dramaturg. Your ability to connect and communicate with actresses says that's your strong suit. All these other things will start to fall into place. And over the last now 10 plus years and 29 episodes, there's not a single episode that I haven't directed where at some point something happens, and I say to myself, that's the best way to do that. It's like it's still like I've done 29 episodes, and there's been 29 times where I've had that aha moment. I go, okay, that's next time I'll do that. Next time I'll be that.
Discovery.
Discovery. Ooh, discovery.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been incredible.
Well, let's get into it. Yeah, let's talk about it. So one theme that we've had a little bit throughout this show is I have been asking Brian, because he's been here for a while, to teach me how to say goodbye to different characters. And this is a little spoiler. If you have not watched the 500th episode, I'm going to give you exactly 2 seconds to pause, watch it, and then come back. Okay,
and
you had
back.
your time. Right. I'm like, okay, you had your time. When I heard about what was happening in the 500th episode, when I heard that Vance was being killed, I was...
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Hold up now.
You didn't take the 2 seconds.
I haven't seen it. What?
You could have paused this interview and taken it. I was shocked. And I'm curious about sort of your decision-making process in, like saying goodbye to Vance in this way. I'm sort of curious about, what that felt like to know that you had moved this character from beyond just a cursory introduction, deep in this character, and then we're giving the audience such a beautiful way to say goodbye.
The good thing is once the episode aired, when the episode aired, the last Tuesday in March, I had several months to kind of come full circle. And when I tell people kind of how it all kind of shook out, this wasn't something at the beginning of the season back in July where I sat down with a tribunal of people from network and everything, and they were saying, hey, this is going to happen. 2 episodes before we shot the 500th episode, our executive producer knocked on my trailer door and said, hey, we've got this great idea for the 500th episode. You got a minute?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sure. Steve, come on in, sit down. So in about 6 weeks, here's what's going to go down. And the network's on board with it. Everybody knows it. And this is kind of what's going on. And he kind of said it to me and kind of said, we could very easily do another feel-good, lots of clips from episodes of 23 years past, and maybe a couple of surprise guests come in. But the edict is we want something that people go, WTF, oh my God, I can't believe what I just saw.
Yeah.
And I was like, sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah.
Now the actor, the creative, the director in me is like, love it. What's it doing? He goes, and it centers around Director Vance. I was like, love it even more. Tell me more. So he starts to tell me this, and he's explaining that the agency's on the brink of disaster, but Director Vance basically saves the agency, and in the process of saving the agency, he loses his life. And Steve, being Steve, was like saying, I'm writing the episode. It's going to be a great episode. You want to hear more about it? And I was like, wait, let's go back a minute. Let's go back to the part where you say in the process of saving the agency, Vance loses his life. And again, like I said earlier, if my experience on NCIS had happened earlier in my career, this would probably be a very kind of morbid time, a very kind of a rough period for me personally. But because it's happened at the time that it's happened, and after 18 years of playing in a character, and I remember sitting in my trailer and just kind of taking it all in and set up. Now Steve is just kind of white noise. He's still talking about something. I'm just kind of like, now you're just kind of you're kind of flat. I'm kind of putting all my time and the experience and kind of being here and just kind of like trying to make some sort of sense of it. And I remember leaving that day. Now that was November. We shot it in that was like maybe late October, early November. December we shot the episode. So I didn't have a long time, which is probably also a good thing. It all kind of happened very quickly. And I remember saying to Gabby, because I had lunch with her that day, I was like, meet me for lunch. I got to tell you something. And the minute she saw my face, she's like, what's going on? I was like, I think I'd just been told that my time on NCIS is coming to an end. They're doing an episode where Director Vance meets his fate. He gets, and she was like, and of course her first reaction was, she goes, "Oh my God, how do you feel?" And I said, "The only thing that surprises me more than being told this is kind of how quickly I'm able to come to terms with it." I'm like, I've had 18 years on the series, you know, and it's like, and so to make a very long story short, my first thought, I guess it's the actor in me, is like, oh well, we got to do this. We got a show to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We got to be one hell of an episode.
And it was.
And I'm like, baby, I'm on board. Let's do this.
Right.
And watching it and seeing it in New York, and like I just felt such a sense of accomplishment. And once it was done, it was like I was able to kind of say to myself, good, well done. You know, it's like your journey, you know, from 2008, from 18, it's like I didn't feel one sense of like, damn it, why me? It's like, you know, to the contrary. It's like you can't imagine. And I say to people all the time, if that had happened in my third season, I wouldn't be having this outlook, and we wouldn't be having this kind of conversation.
Right.
But after 18 seasons, I was, you know, at the risk of being redundant, like I said, being at 18 seasons on one of the most watched TV shows in the world, that's the equivalent of living to be 105. I've lived to be 105 on TV.
Yeah.
So when you have a memorial for somebody who's lived to be 105, there's that part of you that's like, yeah, this is really sad, but I mean, shit, he lived to be 105.
Right.
It's like, enough already.
Right.
You know, what a life.
Well,
you know?
and not only that, but the vehicle with which we said goodbye
was
so
good.
I mean, it's the most powerful departure in the history of NCIS.
Yeah.
There's not a question.
I've said it to Jay. I said it to my publicist. I said, if I was a cast member a surviving cast member, I'd like, I want my last episode.
Absolutely.
We did. We both went
I said,
to them.
you know, there have been a lot of exits on NCIS. We've had a lot of characters.
Yeah.
And that was actually my initial response to Steve Binder. Was like, so we send people to Alaska.
Right.
And we send them to
Paris,
to Budapest, and different places. Isn't there another continent we could just send Vance up to? He's on a boat that may not capsize. He's like, no, we got to kill you all. We got to do something. It's like
in his sensitive Steve Binder way.
Yeah. That was very, 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 very.
You know, we thought about that, but it's not going to be as powerful as you getting shot.
We found out together.
Yeah,
we were on the phone together.
Yeah, Steve
actually
called the two of us at the same time.
Yeah.
We had about 20 pitches for where you could go.
We
were
had
like
a lot of
Cincinnati,
pitches.
Columbus, Indianapolis.
Rocky loves fishing. We could send him to the Caribbean.
My first thing was, Gibbs is in Alaska. I'm like, there's nowhere we can go.
Yeah.
You know?
But because of this episode, though, Rock, I think that so we all know that in the history of NCIS, I think our show has been nominated twice for Emmys. Once for guest star for Charles Durning, and then once, I believe, for stunts for Diamond Farms or stunts. This episode, when I watched it, and I never got to see it before it aired or anything. I watched it with everybody else. And I knew that there was potential there after reading the script, because the script made me cry. But watching your performance within the last 15 minutes of this show, and I thought, this is when Rocky Carroll wins an Emmy. Like, that was my first thought.
I love it.
That was my first thought, and I thought, you know, our show doesn't get a lot of recognition for that, because you tend to go with, you know, the flashier streamer shows and whatnot for acting recognition and whatnot. But the artistry with which you performed that, and like you said, after 18 years, and maybe that goodbye could only be that powerful with 18 years of experience and getting to know this person who's lost his wife and who has raised 2 children and has been the head of this agency for this entire time. To see that moment with Ducky, to see that moment as he's walking towards Jackie, it made my heart blow up. And I got calls from my family members saying the same. And I really think that, like, and I'm not just saying this to blow smoke or just to try and promote our own show. I think at an objective level, the FYC campaign this year, CBS, Paramount is nuts if they don't have you at the front and center of
Yes,
it.
yes.
That's nice. Thank you.
You said in an interview, I think my first season, we were doing an interview for Entertainment Tonight, and they asked about Emmys. And you said specifically, you can see all the shows that have gotten Emmys and they're gone. Like there's shows that have gotten 6 Emmys, 7, they're gone. But the proof is in the pudding for this show. We're still going. And I watched that and I cried and everybody cried. And it was like, yeah, this is the pudding that he's talking about. This is the proof. Watching you get to develop this character, getting to watch you over the years and getting to watch that scene where you say, hey, baby, to Jackie was just... I told you if you hadn't watched it, I was like, I gave you. But I mean, it really was. Yeah. It really was the moment where I said, yeah.
And here's the even more surreal part. You know, I had done the episode, but I hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen an episode. You know, as when you direct an episode, you watch it ad nauseum. You get to watch it over and over again.
Yes.
So I didn't see the episode until the night it aired. You know, for when the rest, I watched the episode when the rest of the world watched the episode, and I watched it in a SAG theater in New York City with 150, guests. So I wasn't in the privacy of my own home to react however I wanted. So I'm sitting there, and I'm not watching it on a television set. I'm watching it in Dolby Surround, like I'm at a movie theater. Basically, it's a screening for it. So there's this sort of side of you where you're surrounded by. I'm an audience member at the same time, and my thought is, oh, just please don't make this be boring. Please don't, and just kind of witnessing in that, it was sort of very much an out of body experience. But I was so proud of the episode, and it made that very absurdly awkward. This is what's going to happen to you moment that I had with Steve Binder in my trailer. It all kind of came full circle because I remember him saying, I want this episode to be a love letter to your character, and that's what it was. That
succeeded.
That's what it was, and that was the thing that I was most proud of. I was like, Steve, we did. And I told him, I said, and I know it was very hard for Steve because he was like, he felt like he was at the same time. He was going to do everything in his power to make this a tribute to this character and the love letter, but the guilt of having, but he knew, and I knew. I was like, like I said, the creative in me as once we started, I was like, this is a great episode.
Yeah.
And for 23 seasons, and we've told many of these stories more than twice, and I was like, if it's going to do everything we set out to do, the shock value, everything else, and I watched it and I was like, man, I got a curtain call. This cat, Vance literally got that episode was a tribute and it was a curtain call. And like I said, and if I was any other cast member, I'd say, I want it in my contract. That's what my last episode is going to be. I want the equivalent of that curtain call for my episode because there's we've lost a lot of characters on NCIS and people may or may not remember how a certain character, they're not going to forget Director Vance's last episode.
No, they are not. No, they are not.
And a lot of that is story, and a lot of it, I'd say most of it is you.
It's you.
It's your performance within that. So, yes.
And we're not getting paid to say this. I know that it seems like we are, but no, I mean, truly.
I'm going to slip you a little something, man.
Thank you. That's what I was. That's
what she was really getting
But I
at.
know we're on a wider angle, so I didn't want them to catch me slipping it.
One of the only regrets I have is I didn't stay because we talked about this earlier. The scene where I'm like wearing the dog collar and. I kind of show up at the evidence garage. That was the scene right before your final scene.
Oh, wow.
And I regret not staying. And I didn't stay because I was like, I was barely holding it together. Like, if you actually saw the outtakes from that, like, every time they cut the cameras, I'm like, crying in this dog collar because I couldn't bear to see you go. And I was like, I'm going to ruin his. I was like, but I wish I had stayed.
You know what? And I haven't, I think I may have said this to Brian earlier, but I haven't seen, since the episode aired, because I came back. What's so surreal? When we shot the last scene, Adam Campbell was there. Vance walks toward the light. We did one take where the camera was rolling, and I started to ad lib because I could feel all the guys, the camera crew behind me, right?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm being greedy here, but I'm just gonna do a little ad lib to get to that emotional state where I'm about to walk toward the light. And I just remember saying, thanking all the guys behind the camera, Chad, all the guys that I've known all those years. I could feel them back there, and I just like kind of went off script, and I was like saying to these guys, how much I love you guys, how much you mean to me, and and we've grown up together, and we're watched our children grow up together, and so I was like, and I get to do that because I'm in this scene where I'm where I'm walking towards the light. So there, and and it was that was the take. I know that was that take, and Jose was just like, yeah, go ahead and do that. So we had that. I just took that opportunity as we were shooting that scene, and in that scene is when they did which I absolutely loved, sort of the flashback of all those the years of, and you see Vance, and I was like, damn, I was young when I was on the show. Damn, my younger brother played me earlier when I was back in the day, and I'm watching and when we come back to that. That's when I had that moment where it's like where Vance says, "Okay, all right, I'm ready to go." But I felt, especially, there was something that was, for me, it was a very good thing that those scenes weren't with the people that I had spent so many years with. That I had that it was Adam and Adair who were playing, basically the angel of death, right. And all of those scenes. So I didn't have to look in your eyes, or I didn't have to look in with Will or Katrina. So it made it a little easier to actually shoot that, because the people that I was playing opposite were like, they were hired to be the Grim Reaper.
Right.
So I wasn't playing opposite of somebody where between takes you're just kind of like, it wasn't like the end of the Mary Tyler Moore Show where you're like, I can't look at it after anymore in the face. And it's like, so it was a very surreal experience, because I didn't get to work with any of my other than those scenes.
Couple scenes,
but where Vance is, and aside from the guy's trying to save Vance and when he's dying on the floor,
right?
But all of that stuff that those last minutes where Vance is kind of coming to terms with the end of it, and it's really art imitating life, and me kind of coming full circle after 18 seasons. But there was always a silver lining, because I knew I was coming back a month later to direct an episode. So I got to say to all my friends and the cast members and the crew, I was like, look, the good news is this is just goodbye for now. Now I'm a visiting relative. I'm not going to be here for every meal, but I'll be here for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and it's like, just think of me now as a visiting relative.
It's like you said. Well, you're more than that. You're still, a member of the family. That's a big part of the member of the family. I told you earlier. My dad said when he called and he asked, and he said, "Wait, is Rocky really gone?" And I said, "No, Vance is gone. Rocky's still part of the family. He's still here. He's still going to be directing for us and all that." Which brings us to this.
The Probie question.
It's called NCIS Partners and Probies.
There's really something on the back of those cards?
We haven't looked at any of these so far.
Well, some of these are Sudoku puzzles.
So the fans of our show are lovingly referred to as Probies. So they all send in questions. We say we have Rocky Carroll on this week. They're going to send in questions. So these are questions directly from our fans, and we'd love to hear.
I'm going to have a sip of this.
Do it.
It's vodka. Yep.
Scotch.
I do love Scotch.
Since we had a little emotional moment there, I
know. I'm like, anybody want some from my stash?
Look at you keeping Kleenex nearby.
I have to. Anytime I think about my performances.
All right.
There is nothing on those cards. You're making this up.
This is a 2. That's a 3. Well,
Bachelor
has to go
Bachelor
there.
number 1.
Okay, I have a question for you. This goes back to the Jesse Stern era. This comes from a fan. After Vance took over as director, he took a single sheet of paper out of a folder about him. He shreds that paper. What was it? Who put it there? Why did he shred everything? Do you remember that back in the knockout era?
I remember how pivotal it was that what that was. And so now I'll tell people that actually what that said is, in about 15 years, your character is going to be shot and killed in the 500th episode. Nice. And I remember reading it going, huh? No.
And then you're like,
then
I'm
you shred it.
shredding
You're
that
like,
thing.
Let me
forget
shred.
Yeah.
You've got 15 more. You've got 15 more seasons, and then everything comes to a crashing end.
Yeah.
No, actually, it was literally one of those things. It was kind of like let's create something. Let's give them, to quote Bonnie Raitt, let's give them something to talk about. You know, it's like I don't remember what was on that piece of paper, but it became a big thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we were talking about. Full circle. My character, those first couple seasons, he was not a welcome member of the NCIS family. He
was the
NCIS universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were all kind of on the fence. It was like, he's like, that ain't my stepdaddy. I mean, it's like, I ain't calling him daddy. Literally, because I felt like I was a member of family, and you come in and you go, hi, this is my new husband. This is, and the kids are like, I ain't calling him dad.
Right.
It was, so there was this whole period of like, is he a bad guy? He's the boss from hell. He's adversarial with Gib. The silver fox. He's like, it's like, so there was, and there was a progression. And I think one of the things that, I know you didn't ask this question, but I think when Vance's wife Jackie was killed and Gibbs and Vance were now bonded, had the same tragic bond together. That's when audiences were like, he's part of the family now.
Yeah.
So next question that's not really on those things that you're
making
just
stuff
making
up.
up. Go ahead.
I actually have one, just a nice comment someone wrote. I admire your work, and the end for Vance touched me so deeply. Thank you for letting me see great character and strength.
I love that.
Yeah.
I have one that has a little show and tell with it. It says, now that you're semi-retired, if you're not directing, what will you be doing? And I have a little sneak preview of a picture that Rocky Carroll sent me. I don't know if you guys can get in on this, but that's a yellowfin right there. As you said, gonna be directing and whatnot. But is there anything else you're looking forward to when you're not doing 12 hours a day?
Actually, I'm going to use that because I'm going to start a pop-up fish market.
That's fantastic.
And,
I'll go on. If you're looking for investments,
I'll be doing quotes and quips from NCIS at the same time. I'll be selling fillets out of the back of my car this summer.
NCIS, but SEA.
Yeah, and all you foodies, I'll let you know. I'll give you advance notice of what part of town I'll be in.
Rocky, we have dozens of listeners. Just put out the call for finances right now.
Yeah, we're there.
They're all going to come in.
We're
They're going
there.
to come flocking.
So yes, I dream big, like Brian Sunsat. I dream big. It's either the senior PGA Tour, but I have to become a much better golfer in order to be on the senior PGA. But my goal is to be a scratch golfer by November and to play on the senior PGA Tour, or go fishing around the world. But I tell people, I said, look, for 18 seasons, I've had call times. I've had to be on set here, in front of the camera, behind the camera. I said, so being another series regular which would be good for a lot of reasons. It's like I'm kind of enjoying like not having a call time or not having to be anywhere specific right now. But if I had to, my dream job now would be to follow in the heels of like Stanley Tucci or Eva Longoria, travel around the world, get paid to eat and drink and immerse myself in cultures and worlds like parts unknown, sort of tap into my inner Anthony Bourdain. And if I could get CNN or some network that I may have a relationship with, to say you go travel, immerse yourself in culture, eat, drink, and talk a little and schmooze with people around the world, that would be, to me, that would be the fun job.
So Paramount, if you're listening, and I believe you do produce this show,
and you need somebody to hold the boom, right?
Rocking around the world,
rocking around the park
this fall.
We'll do it.
Yes, we'll. I think
a la parts unknown. Yes.
Yeah. Where's your first stop?
The Caribbean, because nobody's done. Everybody else has been, Europe and your place. And I'm thinking, you know what? Look, let's go where they're not. Let's go to the Caribbean.
On that note, I think we should say thank you.
Thank you so much, Rocky.
When do you sing the theme song? I've been waiting for you guys to do the theme
song. Okay, wait. Actually, I have one more question. You are a trumpet player, right?
I played a character who played the trumpet.
Okay. So if Leon Vance had a song that was like his goodbye theme song that was going to be played on the trumpet, what song is it?
Wow, that's a hard one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, it'd have to be Blue and Green by Miles Davis. Blue and Green is now. You guys can look that up. You can download it easily. You can, yeah, it would be something from the Kind of Blue album because that's it.
Yeah.
So it's a muted trumpet, so it won't be as so your neighbors won't go, hey. So that would be the answer to them.
Well, that song should be playing on our outro, unless we couldn't afford it.
We couldn't.
But we'll see. It's going to happen any
I was
moment.
thinking there was going to be a Partners and Probies theme song, like the two of you do this thing, and I just sit there and go, I can't believe they're doing that.
Well, why don't you say the goodbye, and I won't do that song, but I'll just pretend that I'm playing the trumpet.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Rocky, thank you so much for coming. We're going to have you come back at some point because there's just too much to cover.
I can't hear you over the music. I'm sorry. And
I feel like she's doing more of a sad
harmonica.
I know. I
It was more of a harmonica.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's
playing the
NCIS
world's smallest
Partners
trumpet.
and Probies. We will see you next week on Tuesdays. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find your podcasts.
What's that?
That sounds like a trumpet.
Or indigestion.
Follow and listen to NCIS Partners and Probies on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.